Good morning. My name is Andrea, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the Community Management Global Community Webcast call. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question-and-answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, please press the pound key. I would like to now turn the call over to Mr. Jim Lundy, Capacity Management Community Board President. You may begin.
Good morning. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. As she said, I'm the community president for the board, and I wanted to make everyone be aware before we really get started that from here on going forward, we will be having more frequent webcasts about every 6 weeks, focused on 1 or 2 topics of interest to our community and shorter in time. The purpose of this is to get more timely, relevant content of information out to our communities sooner. So with that being said, today we have Kip Lamb, who will be presenting on automatic modeling. I've had a chance to sneak peek at this, and it seems really exciting to me, and hope you will find it exciting as well. With that being said, I'd like to turn it over to Jeremy Rosbach. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, and welcome everyone. Once again, my name is Jeremy Rosbach with CA Technologies. I run product marketing for the CA Capacity Management Solutions, so thank you all for attending today. I just want to take a quick minute to update everyone on some upcoming capacity management events. But as you can see in front of you here, the agenda for this morning's webcast is as follows. So I'll briefly let you know what's coming up in the near future regarding CA capacity management. I will then turn it over to Kip Lamb. He's going to talk about a lot of the problems and challenges that you may realize are happening in your organization and you're dealing with at the moment. Talk about how the solution and give examples of how the solution can deliver benefits and help you solve some of those challenges, open up opportunities for you. Introduce the automated modeling functionality from the product, as well as demo it. So real quick, I just want to let everyone know next week, CMG, the Computer Measurement Board, it's the largest performance and capacity management forum out there today for the computer measurement industry. They will be hosting and sponsored by CA Technologies the Sprint Success Stories. So Mr. Jerry Lewis, head of the capacity planning team at Sprint, will be telling his success story around using CA capacity management and how it helps them be successful at every iPhone launch, when they merged with Nextel, how it helped them successfully save millions of dollars in consolidation and virtualization efforts that they got when they merged with Nextel and all that extra server and applications, as well as continually increase their efforts to plan for capacity for new Sprint customer additions, new iPhone rollouts, etc. So the URL is there, and I think I'll put that in the chat window as well so you guys can register it. And definitely check out the posting that is in the CA Capacity Management Community Forum. The posting is there for the registration as well. And then one more thing next week, a couple days after the Sprint webcast, we're starting off with a monthly CA Capacity Management demo series. So every month we will have a product demonstration that you can register for. It's a live Q&A. We will show you current functionality of the product, how it can help you overcome a lot of the challenges that you're dealing with today in your organizations, as well as show you what's coming down in the roadmap as well. And of course, you can ask all your questions there. We'll be there to help you answer a lot of the issues you may have regarding your capacity planning challenges. Once again, the registration link's there. I'll post it in the chat window, and you can also find the registration link in a recent posting in the CA Capacity Management community. So I'm going to hand it over to Kip now. So Kip, are you there?
I am. Thanks, Jeremy. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd like to appreciate I appreciate everybody showing up for this presentation today, where we're going to go over our automated capacity modeling, or kind of service forecasting functionality. I see a lot of familiar names in the group, but for those who aren't necessarily familiar with me, again, my name's Kip Lamb. My title is Senior Principal Consultant. I specialize in the capacity management solution, and came over to CA with the acquisition of HighPerformance, who some of you know that name as well, I can tell. And I started with HighPerformance back in 2000, and been specializing in the capacity management space since then. I have some slides that we're going to go through just to cover some concepts, but we're going to definitely be getting into, I want to spend the majority of the time in a demo to show you what we've been working on, and also would like to be able to open it up for feedback, because you know, this is a work in progress, so to speak. You know, we're far enough along, we want to get it out, but we're also soliciting feedback for better ideas. So, you know, yeah, as I said, I've been in doing capacity planning for 15 years or so, and probably even go back another 15 years before that for some of my mentors. And you know, really, it boils down to, is there a problem? Is it a bad problem? Not all problems are equal. You know, how long do I need? How long before I have to fix it? Because I like to procrastinate. That's just in my nature. And what do I have to do to? What do I got to change to fix the problem? Right? And if you can answer those questions in your environment, you can have a long and healthy, joyful career in capacity management. Now, we need tools to help us answer these things. And so when looking at answering those questions, a couple things, like I said, all problems aren't as bad as other problems. So we have to apply some you know, 80-20 type of triage to pick out which things we're going to focus on. So once we've done this prioritization, there's a lot of things that fall by the wayside because we just don't have the time to spend optimizing lower tier or lower priority applications. But when it comes down to it, we're using the same kind of techniques against those. Whether it's tier 1 or tier 2, we're going to apply the same techniques. Now, if we could speed that up, we could increase our coverage. All right, so even a low priority app can still be costing us money in terms of infrastructure, licensing costs, all those things. So if we can increase our scope of optimization and analysis, we feel that is a good thing for capacity planners, especially if you can do that without adding to your already full plate. So when we may have shared this with some of you about kind of our CA's feeling for capacity management maturity progression, where you know, going from level 1 up to, you know, level 5 nirvana state of you know, fully automated capacity plans. But you know, most customers are, you know, in the still really in the early steps, and looking to get beyond that a bit more. It does take additional analytics and tools, because again, this analysis for systems can take some be time consuming. So again, you know, if we look at it in kind of broken out in terms of our capacity management process, a lot of time is spent in that collecting and analyzing of data that we can we'll focus on here and show how we've helped with these reports to improve time to value on your analysis phase, so you can get up to that final step of providing results to reduce risk. You know, it's the circle of life, so to speak, for the capacity planner is, you know, kind of laid out there in that flow of, you know, the same basic task for setting up a model for evaluation that you do. You're going to configure your systems into, you're going to set thresholds, you're going to do your analysis against a selected baseline and then evaluate those and repeat as needed. So when you can automate this cycle, it again frees up time ultimately for the capacity planner to focus on other high value projects while expanding coverage of the capacity plan. So those of you familiar with the traditional, our current offering in Capacity Manager, the proper name, Capacity Manager modeling solution, you're familiar with the concept of scenarios within Capacity Manager that you run against a baseline. And we did a survey of customers, both internal and external, and asked, you know, here's the scenarios available in Capacity Manager, you know, which ones do you use the most? And it came down that the most used ones are around workload changes and configuration changes. So workload change being what happens if I increase the arrival rate over my current baseline period. And often we're looking at several steps of increase to kind of fence post it, if you will, of, you know, if we're expecting 10% growth, it looks like this. If we expect 20% growth, it looks like that. And again, that's we found that's the majority of the work that is being done with Capacity Manager. So with that in mind, we started incorporating some of those features into the automated modeling or service forecasting features. So some of the key features that we're going to look at today, things that you can do with this service forecasting automated modeling, is you can look at all servers in Data Manager, and you can apply these to any metric, which is something that you're limited to the metrics defined by Capacity Manager in a Capacity Manager model with this, you're able to select the metrics, and in the demo, if you want, I can actually show you in we're going to go look at the database and see the tables where this is set up. It's pretty straightforward. You can customize your historical interval you want to use. So you can look at, say, the past day, past week, past 3 months for the baseline period. And then that baseline period, we're going to do a computation against that of, do you want to use the average, some percentile of that period, or the max from that period? We have 90th and 95th percentile is what we're going with, but you can switch that to use any other p-tile that you would like for your model. So that allows you to say, I want to look at the past 3 months, and I want to use the 95th percentile over that period, and I want to grow from that, which again was something that you were somewhat limited with in Capacity Manager, in that it was going to use the average of your, it's going to use the average of your baseline interval with a Capacity Manager model. So the data analysis and calculations are handled for you on the back end. We have added in some regression calculations. So we're basically can determine the trend of metrics. So and we'll look at how that can be incorporated into a model and into reports. You may have seen some of the genesis of those that regression analysis in the CCR trend reports and in CCC, the new button that says trend. So that's where some of those things came from. And then another, let's say, limitation with capacity manager models was, you have to sort of manually select your infrastructure, so to speak, even if you have groups defined in Capacity Command Center and you're using that in CCR. Capacity Manager didn't necessarily honor those. So with this, it will allow you to filter your or select a group of infrastructure based upon its grouping in the same grouping that's in Data Manager. So those are some of the key things in there. And again, do keep in mind we like to submit feedback from you on these as we go through this. Now, one thing to note, we're using our resource score when we're doing the trend for CPU utilization. Now, some of this may be old hat, but some of it may be new, so just wanted to talk a little bit about why that is important. So with some metrics, they in the wild, so to speak, some metrics will trend up linearly, like network bytes per second as a line fills up, or but things that don't trend linearly is CPU utilization. And so it's a little graphic of what that might look like. If we look at a system's utilization over time as workload increases here, my intervals, and the regular utilization or reported CPU utilization will follow kind of this curve up to 100%, right? And that's due to the nonlinear scalability nature of the computer systems we're dealing with. As overheads increase, utilization drives up and it can do less work. What the capacity utilization does, it turns that curved line into a linear line. So when we say we are at 50% capacity utilization, that means we're doing half of the work the system is capable of. And the regular utilization might be reporting lower, but even though it's really we're really at half of the capacity of that system. So just a little refresher on that, and for those that like the numbers, not the same numbers that are in that hand-drawn chart we just looked at, but just to give you an example of where that could fall over if you're going versus linear projection versus doing a linear projection using regular CPU utilization and looking at using a linear projection versus our resource score. It can be wildly different. So in the same interval here where one system that started out lower in our baseline, it's still lower, but if on the capacity projection here, so we're at 43% regular, but we're actually at 55% capacity, and at that same interval, we would be potentially breaching a threshold and breaching another threshold. So it gives you a better predictor for CPU, and it also allows you to confidently use a linear projection against CPU where that could be dangerous if they hadn't been normalized to the resource score. Okay? And then some of the other things that are taken into account in a model is, you want to, when you're modeling from one system to the next, and this is some of the next functionality that will be added in is, some of the workload movements that are available within Capacity Manager, and again, want to solicit feedback on some of the additional things you'd like to see in there. So now I want to get in and do a quick overview of what we're going to look at in the demo here in a moment, just to kind of set the stage. And what we're going to be looking at today is around this service profile, or what we call service profile summary, where you can get a list of services defined in the system, and those services can be defined from a CMDB pool, or it can load in with CSV files, or the DM groups can also populate some groups that will show up in here. I'm going to give you a overview of items of risk and waste within that service, and then you can drill down to profile, which will show you some of the past historical data. Optimization will do resizing suggestions on the current state, and then the service forecast, which is what we're going to concentrate on today, and that's looking out into the future. So we have these three main links that we're going to be drilling into. Just a refresher or a reminder about the service profile. It provides you with a view of histograms that break out usage and how many systems are near or approaching a threshold for various metrics like CPU and memory. It'll also show you the spread of utilization, so the average versus the percentile, and how much capacity is in there. Again, that's using that what we call TPP percent utilization, or the resource score utilization. Provide you with trend reports to give you an idea of days to thresholds, as well as the optimization reports to show you, which I've been covering in previous sessions. I can go over them a bit if you like today, but those will show you suggestions for optimizing virtual environments based upon, again, the resource score and memory usage. So the future, or the service forecasting section, allows you to look at multiple baselines. So you can select different baselines, and you can define additional or different baseline periods, and we'll look at how that works. You can model based upon a growth rate. We'll see how you then just enter in a growth scenario. You get a summary of your model parameters, and then you get outputs from the model that lets you know what areas might be at risk. You get a heat map view of when services might be an issue based upon thresholds that you have set. You can customize the metrics again. So if you want to look at dynamic memory or active memory or different memory metric for your projection, you can also include static memory, so how much is a fixed memory, somewhat similar to how you can in Capacity Manager. And the modeling is really just set up in 3 steps. So you select your baseline calculation. So again, the average, 90th, 95th percentile, max percentile. You select a time interval for your analysis. So do you want to look back at the past week? year, month, or the default ones of previous week, month, week, current month. And then you can select a growth setting on that. And the hyperlinked areas here are where you're going to be selecting, and then we'll see that output. So I'm going to go into the demo now. There was a question in there from Asim, and yes, we will be adding in SAN or storage metrics into this as well. So if I can share my number 2. Okay. Okay, so we're on the landing page for this service profile summary, and I have a list of all my services here. I've got a lot of various services defined, but I can sort these by. Oops, timeout. Let's get back in there. So I can sort these by number of servers. It is also group aware, so I can go in and select, say, a subgroup, and this is going to pair. So now we have 3 pages of these are all within that banking service. And I can see headroom. Is there any trending risk here? And wasted resources. So just I'll quickly go through the service profile and optimization, and we'll get into the forecast just as a refresher of what these do. So for the service profile, I'm looking at the past 30 days here, and it's telling me for CPU and memory on VMs and physical servers, how many systems are do I have at a risk. So these are telling me within what threshold range and how many systems. So the majority of the systems are in 120 plus days based upon their trend. So this goes back to those regression analytics we were referring to that are based part of the Capacity Command Center 2.7 release. I'm going to come back to my service profile. There we go. All right, so that was the service profile. I can look at the service optimization. I'll just open this in a tab here. And this is the VM resizing report that you may have seen in a previous, you may have seen previously, gone over this with Ashby, of looking at the current state and what could be saved potentially from current state, and what needs to be increased or decreased within that environment. Again, looking at that baseline period. But what we wanted to now get into is that service forecast. So when I go in here, notice I presented with this landing page. I have projection intervals is 18. We can configure that to say how many intervals you would like to look out. And an interval is a growth period. So we take the baseline, and then the baseline is going to be for, in this case, we'll do 95th percentile. And that brings me up to step 2, where I'm going to select my interval. So I'll say, let's look at the past month. And so this is showing me the days within here. And again, I can add intervals in here. So, and this is in the database here, you can see the intervals and a flag. So if the flag is turned on, then the interval will show up in this list. Again, for the metrics that are used, right now it's looking at CPU memory, but we can add in storage. We can add in any metric that you heart's desire that you would like to see in here and enable the flag, and it will calculate the regression values for that metric. Okay, so I've selected my historical interval analysis is at 30 days. I have a dynamic memory setting of 40%. Again, I can change that in the configuration, but what that says is 60% of my memory is static or fixed. Now I can look at different growth scenarios. So I can say, well, what does a 5% growth scenario over this baseline do? And it's calculating the model results for my 18 intervals. And then it's letting me know at that growth rate of 5% per period, how many of my VMs are going to be over threshold as we go out for CPU memory, how many physical servers might be over threshold as we go out. And then I get a, there we go. And then I get a heat map view of risk to show me, and I can sort this one more time. And so when I sort this, I can see which things might be a bottleneck first. So I've got this VM here that's telling me CPU is already at risk in current state. And so with 5% growth, as I go out here, I'm going to start violating the threshold that I have set for that machine. And again, notice this is going against groups of systems, so I can quickly run this analysis against my existing groups in, that I have defined in Data Manager. So the growth scenario is for CPU and for memory. And on the memory, for VMs on the memory, we're looking at active memory. You can choose what metric you want. So right now, it's looking at CPU, global CPU and memory, and for the VMs, it's looking at virtual CPU utilization and virtual memory utilization. We're also looking at resource score there. Again, we can add in additional metrics. So this will work for storage metrics as well. This is another kind of breakout of similar data that we see up above. But what this allows for is a couple of things. Notice where we have the value is next to the color. And what that means for us is that I can export this to a CSV file, and get a get a export of the values that are within that model scenario. So you can also, it's also friendly for printing out as a PDF because you can see the values, and you can export it to CSV if you want to get to these raw projected values as we go out over the 18 intervals. And that's available for the CPU and memory for physical and VMs that are included in this group. So that's really it. You know, we're trying to keep this simple and easy to use so that we can, you know, you can quickly get value out of this. You know, some of the, well, one other thing I want to point out, this observed organic growth, that will use the calculated trend for the group and use that as the growth rate. So whatever the calculated trend over the baseline period, you can use the, I don't know if these are trending or not, I didn't look at the group for this. Yeah, they're probably going to be zeros. So some of them get bigger. So the you can use the observed trend, which is pretty cool. So I can just say, look over the past year, what happens if that continues, that growth per interval continues, what would the impact of that be? All right, so I'm going into the chat window. I want to kind of open it up for some Q&A. Let's see here. Gotcha. So Tom, your question, customizable historical intervals, be able to select a specific peak time of day. Yes, we hear you loud and clear. That is one of the next steps is to be able to add in business hours only and have defined business hours within, so somewhat similar to you know, how we have in the table over here, the regression intervals. There'll be some other ones added in here for representing the business hours that you want defined. So we will be addressing that, and I know that's been long waited for. And Jackie, the growth rate, what is this calculated on? So the growth rate is from the baseline utilization. We, similar to if you're familiar with like a capacity manager model, the growth rate is basically increasing. Say we have a super transaction, if you will, that is driving the load on this, and it's coming in at 1 transaction per second, and that's what's creating the baseline utilization we're observing. I'm going to say I want to grow this by 10%. So now my next interval is 1.1 transactions a second, and then plug that in and see how the utilizations are going to increase. So the growth scenarios are the percent growth you would like to see over the observed baseline interval. I hope that helps.
Kip, we have a few more questions coming in through the Q&A panel.
Oh, there's two. Okay. Sorry, I'm new to the Q&A panel. I was just looking in the chat window. Let's see what we got here. I like that idea. Organic trend with a plus or minus. That definitely sounds doable. Absolutely doable to take observed trend plus some of these other values here to see how that would grow. From Gary, is the CCR development going to be transitioned to NIMSOFT also, and how soon? Yes, it is being transitioned to NIMSOFT, and all of this work that you see here is not lost. It will directly translate over into the NIMSOFT, or as CA calls it now, UIM infrastructure. There's already some, let's say, alpha code out there, if you will. And for timelines, I can't speak specifically to that, but it is definitely on plan for next year, or this year, I mean. We're already in next year. It's January already. Well into January already. Fiscal year, I should say. Yeah, and some of the workflow, it actually does get a little bit cleaner in UIM in the way it can link views. So right now, as you kind of fill it in, it fills out the steps as you go in different boxes. That's really a limitation of the CCR formatting that doesn't exist in UIM. So it's a lot more flexibility in that regard, and it'll look cleaner as well. But again, all the back end heavy lifting ports right over into UIM very easily. Yes, the hardware change scenarios, it will likely be in after UMP, and how that would work is you would basically either pre-select some infrastructure you want to try out, or you'll have to have some sort of a concept similar to capacity managers infrastructure, where we're going to have a finite set of options, or like it is in VPM, where you have you set up your hosts for analysis to have a finite list of options out of the model library to give you recommendations for hardware outside of the virtual recommendations and the optimization.
So Kip, not seeing any more questions through the Q&A panel. Why don't we let the operator open the lines for any live questions now?
And ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to ask a question, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to ask an audio question, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad.
Okay, great. Well, Kip, you delivered a wonderful presentation today. I'm sorry, operator, was there a question?
No, ma'am, there are no audio questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. Let's turn it over to Jim Lundy now, just for some closing comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate everyone joining us this morning. For Jeremy for his part of the presentation, and certainly for Kip for what he has to present. I thought it was some really good stuff. I believe that sometime in the near future that this information will be out on the communities page, so that if you have an interest and would like to try the software yourself, you could go to the communities page and download that and try it out for yourself and enjoy. Other than that, I just want to remind you to go ahead and check the communities page and see if you can find answers to some things you might be having and participate in the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, operator, we can close the call now. Thank you to everyone for joining today. The transcripts will be posted and the replay will be posted to the community, as Jim pointed out. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This does conclude today's conference call. You may now disconnect. Presenters, please remain online.